Finally, we come to Austin Theory in Vince McMahon's office. And again, I can't tell whether he can talk or not because of this horse shit they're giving him. He's acting like a bonehead simpleton. He's supposed to be the goofy kid that Vince is trying to take under his wing. He just has to play off of whatever Vince is doing and say these things they tell him to say, so we don't know whether he can talk or not, if he was actually left to his own devices. But in this, he wanted a late number in the Rumble from Vince, and Vince, why do you think I have anything to do with that? Well, because you own the fucking company and you run everything else, and you had people looking for $100 million egg. But anyway, Vince blew him off and tells him to beat AJ Styles tonight and bring him back a good selfie. So, since AJ Styles is wrestling Austin Theory, I'm going to watch this. And remember, 2 weeks ago, they gave us like 3 or 4 minutes of this match, and then Grayson Waller interfered, and they got another disqualification out of it. So this time I was going to time and see, do they give these guys some time? Are they serious about trying to get this guy over? Is this going to be more bullshit? And unfortunately, it's still the WWE crowd, and they're conditioned, don't really care about the matches, especially don't get excited, because we got big entrances and videos for you to watch on the screen coming up. So let's get this pesky match out of the way. But in this case, they gave him some time. And again, I'm trying to find a flaw in Austin Theory. It's like he's been working for 10 years and a talented and working for 10 years. He not only gives, but takes shit perfectly. I'm talking about, well, there was one example in this match. AJ had put him down on the mat. He's laying there on the mat, and he's kind of selling what's been done to him, and AJ hits the ropes. He's going to come with that running, sliding forearm thing he does, right? Well, Theory, at the same time as he's not looking at AJ, sits up so he's in position, but he's dizzy, and you can see it on his face. And then he looks up just too late to move and sees AJ, and the shock is on his face. And then he takes it perfectly. And he's always in the right position, but he's not waiting there for the shit. He's open for it, but he's not inviting it. He meets it coming in. That's timing and positioning. I don't know where this kid fucking came from. He wasn't out of place with Finn Balor. He's not out of place with AJ Styles. And what is he, 22 years old or whatever he is?
24.
Okay. He gave AJ, at one time he shot him off for a great turnbuckle, followed him through and landed on the mat, gave it authority. Did a good spot going to the break. He's trying for a superplex. AJ pushes him off the top, and he rolls over with it and then does his roll and leaps back up and drop kicks AJ, takes a nice bump to the floor. The first segment went 7 minutes. Then they go to the break, and coming back, they went another 7. And on the other side of the break, AJ was fighting back from underneath, but Theory was getting heat on him. Nice spinning backbreaker. And, I'm pointing out nice moves that he does, and everybody's going to say, Cornette doesn't like the moves. No, when it's a guy that's got all this basic shit together so well and gets every concept and can do good, safe, fucking impactful looking moves, well, that's just swell. He doesn't rush. He takes his time. He works like a heel. There was a one spot where he just was going to give AJ an elbow drop, and AJ moved. It was a different kind of elbow drop, and he sold it perfectly. Theory did. Not too much, like he's just dead and laying there, but not too little, like it didn't make any difference. And fed right up into AJ's shit. He feeds into everything. And then late in the match, they went back and forth and did a few back and forth false finishes. Honestly, well, you didn't see this, but the AEW audience would have been going insane for this, because not only was it the quality of shit that Page and Danielson were doing, but it was, especially if if the AEW audience had sit through what they had just seen beforehand, they would have been throwing babies in the air. But they like the matches because that's they've put importance in the wrestling in the ring, even if it's not always good. So their fans react more to what's going on, and it's easier to get guys over having good matches. So anyway, they did a spot where AJ went for the springboard into the forearm, and Theory at the last second pulled the rope out from underneath his feet. It was perfect timing. And then Theory tried to get the pin with the top spread and his feet on the ropes, but the referee caught it at 2. So he gets up and yells at the referee, turns around, Styles hits the springboard into the forearm. Boom. 1, 2, 3. If he's going to lose, at least he lost to AJ, and at least it was a great match. But they gave him 14 minutes plus the 3-minute break. And I can't find anything wrong. I wasn't the actual one to work with him, but the only thing that looked like a potato that looked out of place in this match, AJ hit him at one point with a forearm coming up off the deck, and the way Theory sold it and just dropped and was dizzy, and it was out of place because AJ hadn't made his comeback, made me think that I think he clocked him and he knocked him unawares for a second or two. But that was AJ. I couldn't find anything Austin Theory did wrong. He's going to be the best worker in the business in less than 5 years. And right now, to be perfectly honest with you, I will posit this to you, Brian Last. I say that Austin Theory right now, at this stage of his career, is better than Adam Page, the AEW World Champion.
The other day, what did you say? The other day you said he's better at this point in his career than Cena was at this point in his career, correct? Mm-hmm. Was that the way you put it?
Yep.
And now you're saying he's better than Adam Page overall at this point in his career, but Adam Page as the world champion, not as a couple of years into his career, whatever it is.
No, I'm saying right now, his physique is better. I'm not saying Page looks like shit, but Theory's physique is better. Theory's in-ring work from the basics and the timing and the positioning and the logic of the whole thing is better. He's showing more personality in his matches. He's not showing a lot of personality in his interviews, but Adam Page doesn't show a lot of personality in his interviews, except every great once in a while when he gets fired up. But as far as Theory's heel personality, when he's working in these matches, comes through better than Adam Page's babyface personality, where, as we mentioned, Page was working with Danielson and we couldn't take our eyes off Danielson. I've seen Theory working with AJ Styles and with Finn Balor, and I couldn't stop looking at Austin Theory. Except for the promos that Page does, he's been allowed to do a few that showed him ahead in that respect if he's left alone, doesn't have all this silliness to talk about. But we haven't seen what Theory can do there. But as far as physique, size, work all around from the basics on up, and personality in his matches, this guy's better right now than their opposition world champion, in my opinion. And that doesn't say that Page sucks. That just says this guy is so fucking good.
And they have him doing this thing with Vince. They're not giving that to just anybody. Knowing it's Vince and Bruce and Johnny Ace, with all the negatives, still guys that have been around wrestling for a very long time, are you confident that they see it the same way? That they see that this kid's a no-brainer?
I won't say no-brainer. They see this kid as, yeah, he's got everything we need to try. If we're going to try with somebody, he's best suited for it. I hesitate to say the word no-brainer because they can always find it. Remember, and Matt Morgan couldn't work anywhere near like this guy, but remember when they had the 7-footer with the 3.8 grade average in school and the ability to dunk a basketball while being a competition bodybuilder, and et cetera, and they decided to give him flaws so people could relate to him and made him stutter. There's no-brainer in that environment, but they obviously see it. Everybody that has any experience in a major league level wrestling company and or has developed or seen talent develop has to see that this guy's he's not the automatic instant Braun Breaker. You just look at him and go, fuck, I don't even need to hear him talk or watch him work. And then when you do, that's a pleasant surprise. With Theory, he looks very good, but not greater than everybody. But you have to see him a time or two. And then if you know what to look for, then you start seeing it. But yeah, anybody who's been in the business any length of time and is not, a member of the cosplay trampoline backyard crowd knows that this kid's a fucking freak of nature. You're just not supposed to be that good that quick.
So he's 24, and AEW MJF's 25. So there's a couple of things to look forward to for the future of wrestling.
Yes, just not the future of wrestling promotions or wrestling promoters, but wrestlers, there's something to look for the future.
Now, if you were Austin Theory, do you ride this? Do you say, hey, I'm set up. I'm doing stuff with Vince. They're using me on TV. I look great. I'm good in the ring. I'm going to be the biggest star here. Or do you say, these people have a record of treating talent like garbage, of abusing them, of taking away their intellectual property. You have to wonder about your money, whatever it may be. Maybe I should look into another career.
Well, which one would you pick? Can you narrow it down for me?
What do you think Austin Theory would be thinking right now?
Well, perhaps he'd be thinking about our friends at Code Academy. Was that the one you were going for?
I think that was the one I was going for.
Because they're fucking back. And boy, a lot of people have been proven wrong. Yes, the folks at Code Academy will put up with a lot, and they do have a sense of humor. But folks, right now, if you want to change your career, there has never been a better time to become a programmer. Yes, now you can have programs of your own. And with Code Academy, you can learn to code on your own terms. As a matter of fact, the last time I testified in court, the attorney said, Mr. Cornette, if you would, just tell us in your own words. And I said, beep, bop, because those were my own words. I made them up on the spot. You can make up your own code, ladies and gentlemen. We're living in a fast-changing world. And one of the best ways to succeed in it is to learn how to code. Remember, we've talked about the potential governments you can overthrow and the shadow governments you can set up in small South American locations. If you try Code Academy today, you can see where coding can take you. Coding has taken people all around the world, sometimes blindfolded and bound and gagged, tied to a chair, but you see the world eventually, wherever you end up. So whether you're starting from scratch or looking to advance, Code Academy can help you reach your coding goals. And folks, everybody knows you got to have goals in your coding. If you don't have goals in your coding, you'll never achieve them. Have you heard, Brian, about the Great Resignation? That's people are quitting their jobs. They've finally figured out, take this job and shove it because you're not paying me enough, because I'm not highly qualified enough. And now they're learning how to be qualified for these high-paid, in-demand jobs and potentially to extract ransom from people whose computers or internet or businesses you might be able to hold hostage with the various types of code that you will learn how to write, including Python, HTML, the ever-popular Squall, and JavaScript. Not sure where to begin? Like me? Well, Code Academy will point you in the right direction. They'll point you here. They'll point you there. They'll point you to the bank to get some money out to pay them for all this service that they're providing. And you can get, as you know, instant feedback. Instantly, you can be told, shove this shit up your ass and start over, because your code is tested as soon as you submit it. And you know, Brian, I tried submitting some code. I mean, it was rudimentary. It was my first try. But I did exactly like they told me. I cut words and letters out of several different newspapers from different cities and then pasted them all on the page to create the message. But unfortunately, I forgot to wear the gloves and left fingerprints. That's why we'll be taking a break in the podcast this fall for 3 to 7 years. But anyway, folks,
None of that happened. None of that is true, and none of that reflects on Codecademy. I just want to make sure we're clear with everyone out there. Codecademy is a wonderful service. No gloves, no sneaking around.
Well, you can use some type of absorbic acid to burn the fingerprints off of the tips of your fingers, folks. But join the over 50 million people. 50 million of them. Goddamn, that's a lot of competition. Maybe we better keep this quiet. Join the over 50 million people learning to code with Codecademy and see where coding can take you and get 15% off your Codecademy Pro membership when you go to codecademy.com and use the promo code EXPERIENCE. Let me spell a bit for you. CODECADEMY.com, promo code EXPERIENCE. EXPERIENCE. Join Codecademy, TODAY, and get 15% PERCENT off just because they love us. See where coding can take you, Brian. Where would you like to be taken right now?
I just want to be left alone right here.
Well, there you go.
And I can do coding right here from my desk. It's a wonderful service, wonderful skill to have.
You can land your dream job in web development, programming, computer science, data science, and tons more. I just want that certificate of completion.